Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Hey folks, today's Friday, August 15, 2025, coming up on Rollerbuck Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. I'm live from Westfield, Indiana, where Live Golf is having their tournament here. I'm going to be here all weekend, and so look forward to that. On today's show, we'll be talking with Mayor, not Congresswoman, but Mayor Barbara Lee of Oakland about what she is doing to do with the issue of the homeless. Also, we'll talk about redistricting that's taking place there in California. Also, Law Victoria Burke was in court in Washington, D.C., and she describes what she says is a slave process with how ICE is dealing with detainees. Also, Texas Democrats prepared to return to the state capitol, Alliance for Quorum. I'm still am not happy. I got lots more to talk about. Plus, my alpha brother, Bishop William Barber, will be joining us talking about what we need to be doing in this moment to fight for the issue that matter to us. Folks, it's time to bring the funk on Rollerbuck Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's rolling Martin, rolling with rolling now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's rolling Martin now.
Hey, folks, Washington, D.C., lots of drama. Donald Trump has forced out the police chief of Washington, D.C. Attorney General Pam Bondi has appointed the DEA commissioner to take over the police department. Washington, D.C. responds by suing the Trump administration, saying it do not have the power to do so. Now, Trump has declared there's an emergency in the nation's capital, which gives him the authority to take over Washington, D.C.'s police force, but D.C. is fighting back. Mayor Muriel Bowser, of course, who was, going forward with But their initial takeover say they now are overstepping their authority in the nation's capital. What you have now seen is federal law enforcement, even ICE agents, taking people off the streets and arresting them and taking them to court. It's been a whole bunch of stuff that's been happening in the nation's capital. And now we have an escalating legal battle over presidential authority over the District of Columbia. I want to bring in reporter Lauren Victoria Burke of Black Press USA right now. And Lauren, glad to have you here. So a couple of things, Lauren. First and foremost, this lawsuit, if you will, the city is filing against the Trump administration. They're claiming they're overstepping their bounds by, in essence, taking over the police department. The mayor says they don't have that authority to command local personnel.
Right, and apparently they don't, because in court today, in federal court, effectively the government, the DOJ folks got scared and left, and are going to come back. They're going to reword what they wrote and come back. Obviously, their authority is very questionable. A lot of people are asking, well, why didn't D.C. challenge the federal government on Monday and not just sort of capitulate to the idea of this state of emergency thing in the first place, which is not a bad question. But at any rate, this round was won by the city of D.C., by the District of Columbia, by Mayor Muriel Bowser and her AG, Brian Schwab. They won effectively in court this moment. So the police chief, Pam Smith, is still in charge of the D.C. police force. It is a very questionable and big mystery as to, are they apprehending people? Who is being apprehended? Where are they ending up? And frankly, when I was in court today, it was extremely confusing because I couldn't figure out who was in there in terms of whether it was related to ICE arrest or not, or DC Metropolitan arrest or not. There were so many people in court that it was quite confusing. But the bottom line of your question, Roland, is that the District of Columbia did win a round. About 30 minutes ago, the mayor came out and made an announcement effectively that, their police chief is still in charge at this moment.
Talk about that what court was like, because you said it was just one of the most shocking things you ever witnessed.
Okay, I was confused, frankly. I usually do federal court related things because it's members of Congress and federal court trials, etc. So I hadn't been in a municipal court in a while. This is D.C. Superior Court. And for those who may not be familiar, close to the Capitol, in a section called Judiciary Square, there were a number of Free DC, there's a group called Free DC, protesters out and about, and I'd heard from one of them that, look, if ICE apprehended somebody tonight, or last night, I should say, in the last 24 hours, they should be appearing in court at 1:30. In the basement of D.C. Superior Court. Really, the basement section is where a courtroom C10 is. I go down there. There's a docket listing in an electronic board that goes on forever. At any rate, I go in, and when I say I was shocked, I mean, this whole process is just really shocking. All black defendants, and I understand, of course, that D.C. is I think 42% black, but still, there's this feeling of the sausage being made of people's lives being upended by relatively low-level crimes in there, by the way. It's nothing crazy. The judge was really sitting there gaveling everybody into hey, we're going to let you go and you can come back in 30 days. But they come in shackled. Everybody comes in shackled. So what was sort of shocking to me, it probably shouldn't have been, given the fact my dad was a prison guard at Rikers Island. But at any rate, they come in shackled at the waist and at leg ironed. And as the judge decides what their fate will be, they become unshackled. But all black men and their families are in the audience, very young. Everybody's really young, the family members, the folks coming in. So that was a jolt to me. And it was a shame because, as you may know, Roland, this whole operation that Donald Trump has going on apparently costs $400,000 a day. And effectively, they're concentrating on homeless people. Well, with $400,000 a day, you could figure out new schools, all sorts of activities, housing, affordable housing. So it's a shame when you watch up close our criminal justice system, what it does to people. It's demoralizing. There's a lot of young people going through that, and it is really sad to watch.
Well, that is certainly the case. And to your point there, folks don't understand what's going on. I mean, are you having federal charges? Are you having, frankly, state charges, local charges?
Right.
Who's in
Right.
control? Who's doing what? And so it's a whole lot of confusion. And that's what happens when you do something haphazard and you just sort of just throw it together.
And even worse, Roland, I went out relatively late last night in DC. I decided to drive around and walk around and see if I could find the same mayhem we saw on 14th Street. Good for the folks of 14th Street, mostly white folks, and what DC would call, of course, the gentrifiers out there. But still, they did a good job at really rousing that situation up and getting ICE off the street and saying, get off of our streets effectively. But at any rate, I went walking around the city. It was very quiet, not much going on. When I was in Ubers today, I asked all the Uber drivers, hey, are you seeing checkpoints? What are you seeing? Nothing. But one of the open questions about the way that Trump does things is, are these sworn police officers? We don't know that. I mean, some of these people do have insignia and have patches, and some of them don't. And a lot of them have masks on. So it's an open question in some of these proceedings. Who's arresting them? Is it federal or local? And now you got Pam Bondi. You have Trump's Justice Department deciding that they want to take over the police force. The question has to be asked, where is that leading? Take over the police force to do what? So that's what the primary problem is here.
All right, then, Laboratory Burke, we still appreciate it. Thank you so very much for joining us on today's show. I want to bring in my Friday panel. Glad to have y'all here on the show. Joining us right now, Michael Imhotep, host African History Network show out of Detroit. Matt Manning, civil rights attorney out of Corpus Christi, Texas. Cameron Trimble, CEO, Hip Politics Media, and former White House senior advisor. I want to start with you, Matt. Listen, when you don't even know legally who the heck is in control, that creates all sorts of problems. And I'm sure as a defense lawyer, you're like, what the hell's going on? Who's in charge? What's happening here?
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of a fundamental idea that in order for a court to operate, they've got to have subject matter jurisdiction. I think you've got a jurisdictional question when you have somebody arresting you that may not have authority to do that, or that authority is in question by virtue of the fact that they are exercising an authority that they don't actually have. You see that kind of thing happen where, somebody is, for instance, an officer on the state level, as an analog, might arrest somebody in a jurisdiction that's not his or hers. States generally have laws about whether that officer actually has authority to do it in that place if he's not an officer that's got, jurisdiction in that jurisdiction normally. So this is kind of that kind of question. I think it implicates some of those questions, and it specifically comes from the idea that Mr. Trump is trying to exercise authority that he does not have, that constitutionally. And as you've talked about on this show, and as I think the guest just mentioned, there's a sovereignty issue, right? DC has its own municipal courts. As you know, I went to Howard, right? And I've been in those very courts myself. And those courts have a field of jurisdiction, and they have officers whose decisions and whose arrests take them into those courts. The idea that the federal government can overstep DC sovereignty and say, now we're going to supplant the Metropolitan PD officers there with National Guard or other federal officers who don't normally have this authority is extremely problematic, and it creates the cascade effect, because now it just becomes, we're just going to grab all of the authority that we want. Constitution, laws, and customs be damned. And this is a tip of the iceberg, but we know that this is exactly what this administration is attempting to do more and more. Just continue to grab more power and say, check me on it. And that's what we're seeing happen in real time, to the tune of $400,000 a day, which is absurd, especially from people who have spent so much time talking about waste, fraud, and abuse. This is per se waste, fraud, and abuse.
Michael, the Bowles administration obviously tried to placate the Trump administration when this thing started on Monday, but clearly they recognized the go along to get along strategy was not working.
Yeah, now you and I and the panelists know that Muriel Bowser is in a different position than other mayors of other cities. But yeah, and she has to walk a tightrope, and I totally understand that. But the go along to get along wasn't working like with the masses of people. But also, I think you have to know when to pick your battles and make sure that you're on strong legal footing to do so. This would be an example of being able to really hit back when you're on strong legal footing, because the DC Attorney General said that the Trump administration does not have the legal authority to put somebody that Pat Smith, chief of police, has to report to. Okay, so we know Pam Bondi put Terry Cole, of the DEA, in charge of the police department, and it basically stripped Pat Smith, police chief, of authority to make decisions, things of this nature. So this is a very good legal argument, and it's this fight here, Roland, is resonating with the base, resonating especially with African Americans who want to see them fight back. But if I could just quickly interject here, Roland, one, we all know this is an authoritarian attempt by Donald Trump to distract from the Epstein files, number one. Number two, if he really wanted to continue the decrease in crime in Washington, D.C. has made some strides in the past couple of years in bringing down crime. One, he will restore the $1 billion in mental health grants that the Biden administration put in place, because the Trump administration revoked that. Is $1 billion in grants for promoting mental health in schools. Yeah,
but also it's not just Washington D.C. It's grants all across the country. And Cameron, that's the problem here.
I understand that.
You can't say you care about crime. No, I understand. 1 second, Cameron. You can't say you care about crime, but then you want to actually cut the actual crime prevention programs.
Exactly, Roland. Like we realize this is all bluster. This is
Cameron.
Can you hear me? Yes, Roland, exactly right. I think this feels like this is
Cameron there.
Yeah, Roland, I'm here in studio in D.C., and I think from the ground, it feels like this is a powder keg waiting to happen. Like, I spent the last few days walking around, driving around D.C., trying to really get a feel for it's almost like you're living in two DCs. There's tanks and Humvees and militaries over at the Union stations and Foggy Bottoms and a few different black neighborhoods. It's flooding all of our social media and our timeline. But then you also see it's quiet and you walk around the U.S. Capitol and it feels like it's every day. It's just a normal day in August in D.C. But it feels like this is an attempt and a test, as the other panelists said, to let me try to grab all the power I can, see who tries to check me on it, and then see how many other places I can implement this. Because this is definitely a fear tactic. Notice he's targeting big cities. These big cities happen to have black mayors, and they happen to be Democratic strongholds. So anything he can do to break that will, he's doing. But what I will say, and what I am encouraged by, you see so many people just driving here to the studio. I see so many different people of all shades with signs, posters, things to talk out against the Trump administration. So I feel like it's a powder keg waiting to happen, because if this keeps happening and people keep feeling infringed upon, you're going to see more massive protests and more uprising, I think, of people looking to push back against this overreach.
All right, folks, we're going to go to a break. We come back. Governor Wes Moore of Maryland, he weighs in on all this drama. He's got a lot to say. Folks, you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network. Back in a moment. Guys, y'all have got to fix that IFB. I literally couldn't hear anything Cameron is saying in studio. I could hear.
Got the call. I was in the room. He was sealing the deal. It's done. And I was like, man, congratulations. You know, I got me a drink. You know, he rolled up and we were sitting there talking. And I was like, oh, man, I can't imagine how many rappers you're going to have on this label. It's going to be. He was like, I'm not doing that. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, that's Death Row. Tupac, Suge, the whole look. And he's like, no, you're going to be the flagship for it. You're going to do it first. And I'm like,
you try. Well, look, I'm
R&B. Like,
right.
This Death Row's not R&B. He said it is now. He was like, I'll get rappers later. Don't worry about that, but I want you to take over. I'm like, oh, I was nervous. I was like, there's no way this is going to work. People are, and of course you get a little backlash from, on the comment section, when he's posting about it. It's just like, he's R&B. That's not Death Row. And we had to slowly kind of get people acclimated to it.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
This week on The Other Side of Change,
300,000 Black women being pushed out of the workforce.
This is shocking yet unsurprising.
So what happens when a bunch of Black mothers lose their federal job? Their kids are not being fed, their kids are not being taken care of, but that trickles down to the entire community structure, which may be built on the backs of Black mothers and Black women more broadly.
Tune in on The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network.
Next on The Black Table with me, Greg Carr. The United States is the most dangerous place for a woman to give birth among all industrialized nations on the planet. Think about that for a second. That's not all. Black women are 3 times more likely to die in this country during childbirth than white women.
These healthcare systems are inherently racist. There are a lot of white supremacist ideas and mythologies around Black women, Black women's bodies, even Black people, that we experience painless, right?
Activist, organizer, and fearless freedom fighter Monifa Akinwole-Bandele from Moms Rising joins us and tells us this shocking phenomenon, like so much else, is rooted in unadulterated racism. And that's just one of her fights. Monifa Bandele on the next Black Table here on the Black Star Network.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, Black Americans have 1/10 the wealth of their white counterparts. But how did we get here? It's a huge gap. Well, that's why we need to know the history and what we need to do to turn our income into wealth. Financial author and journalist Rodney Brooks joins us to tell us exactly what we need to do to achieve financial success.
You can't talk about why we are, as Black people, where we are, unless you talk about how we got here.
Bridging the Gap and Getting Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
On the next A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, we're talking about leveling up, or to put it another way, living your very best life. How to take a bold step forward that'll rock your world.
Leveling up is different for everybody. You know, I think we fall into this trap, which often gets us stuck because we're looking at someone else's level up journey, what leveling up means to them. For some, it might be a business venture. For some, it might be a relationship situation, but it's different for everybody.
It's all a part of A Balanced Life. That's next on Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shootings.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance.
We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate Black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear
us white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear. When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
This is Essence Atkins.
Mr. Love King of R&B, Raheem Devon.
It's me, Sherry Shepherd, and you know what you watch.
You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, Maryland Governor Wes Moore has been very vocal about what's happening in the nation. And, of course, he had a news conference today, and he had a couple of words to say to Donald Trump.
So while I was on the Eastern Shore, opening up a new health clinic in rural Maryland, the President of the United States took to the Oval Office to attack me.
The governor of Maryland, I watched him this morning saying that the governor of Maryland, yeah. But I heard him today talking about how the National Guard or the military is not trained in police.
And he attacked me because I was critical of his performative decision to put military personnel in American cities to perform municipal policing functions. I served overseas in combat. I have worn the uniform of this country. And I know what is being asked of these men and women every time we ask them to activate. Our military, we were trained to fight and win our nation's wars, and our National Guards are trained to respond when states are seeing times of emergency or crises, not to perform municipal policing functions. So if the president wants to have a real conversation about how to reduce violence, like what we have had in the state of Maryland since I've been the governor, where Maryland has had amongst the fastest drops of violent crime anywhere in the United States of America, I'm ready to have that conversation anytime, Mr. President.
Folks, joining us right now, former Congresswoman, now Mayor of Oakland, Barbara Lee. Mayor Lee, first of all, congratulations on your new job.
Thank you. I'm glad to be with you. I miss you, but I'm so glad to be here as mayor of this great city. And thanks for inviting me to be with you today, Roland.
Well, miss you as well, but now you give me a good reason to go back to the Bay Area. So we're trying to make that happen as soon as possible.
Roland, you've got to come here and do one of your shows, okay? You know we'll roll out the red carpet for you here in Oaktown.
All right. Well, we'll make that happen. So look forward to that. So we'll work on that on the planning schedule. Let's talk about this here. You serve on the federal level. You now are a mayor, and surely you have significant concerns when you hear the White House talk about taking over cities and things along those lines. And look, a lot of Republicans always talk about local government, big government, local control, but that should be worrisome to many mayors across the country.
Roland, you know what? No one in Oakland knows this man, Donald Trump, like I know Donald Trump. Remember now, I was in Congress 27 years. 4 of those years were when he was president. But also I was sitting on the floor of the House of Representatives on January 6th when he sent in his folks to thwart the peaceful transfer of power. And we barely got out of there. And so this is not a surprise to me, but it's a wake-up call, I hope, for everybody in the country to understand that he wants to militarize our government. He wants to occupy cities, and he wants to dismantle our democracy. And this is a step in that direction. And so let's use this as a wake-up call. And also, Roland, you know, he called out Oakland like he called out other cities. And it's no secret that all of the cities that he called out, 1, have large black and brown populations. 2, the crime rates are coming down. And 3, they're all led by black mayors. And so look at that picture. We all know what this is about. And so we have to understand that he's not telling the truth. He's fear-mongering. And these are dog whistles also that he continues to perpetrate. And in Oakland, we're not going to stand for it.
Mayor Lee, I was communicating last night with a national commentator. And one of the things that I said to this person was that, listen, here's part of the problem. It's very easy to say we want to bring down crime. But the reality is that I have interviewed numerous police chiefs, and they will tell you you cannot bring down crime with more police. And so what they have said to me is you have to address the myriad of issues that impact crime. You're talking education, you're talking economics, you're talking poverty, you're talking hunger, you're talking jobs. And so if you want to bring down crime, you go to a Mayor Brandon Scott and say, how did you actually do it? That's what Governor Wes Moore was talking about, the strategies were. And so it's not as simple as people throw out there. And I think this is where people get confused, where you want to have these bumper sticker phrases when the issue of crime is a multifaceted issue.
Yes, it's multifaceted. First of all, we have to deal with the underlying causes and the root causes, and many are social determinants of crime. Poverty, lack of equitable and equal education, housing, the cost of living, mass incarceration, you know, police misconduct, criminal justice. All of these issues are the root causes in our communities. But also, just as in Baltimore, what we have done is we've established several years ago the Department of Violence Prevention and Ceasefire. And our strategies are very similar to those in Baltimore, where we have, of course, the police to do policing. But we have, and the reason the crime rate is going down, though, Roland, is because we have life coaches and we have crime prevention strategies, which provide for identifying those who are most risk of either getting killed or shooting someone. And we get to these individuals, these young people, and we provide the pathway out of this in terms of stipends, jobs, job training, housing, whatever is needed. And so it's got to be comprehensive. And that is exactly what Baltimore is doing. That's what Oakland is doing. That's what all of the jurisdictions that the president has cited have in terms of strategies. It may or may not be part of the overall Department of Violence Prevention strategy, but they're strategies that take into account what you just said. And so, you know, this president, if he were clear and if he were not such a fearmonger, he would say, okay, I'm going to help these communities continue with the trajectory of crime reduction by providing those resources for housing rather than cutting housing funding. Or I want to make sure that they have educational support instead of dismantling the Department of Education. Or he would say, I want to make sure that that the cost of living is such that health care is available and people don't have to worry about health disparities and dying younger than other people who have access to health care. And so if he cared about our communities, he would do that. And those would be his policies. His policies are just the opposite. And we know what he's doing. And that is attacking cities, trying to provoke reactions so that they can come in and occupy our cities. And Oakland is just not going to let that happen. We're very unified, regardless of our differences of opinions on a variety of issues. We're very unified around this.
Let's talk about gerrymandering. You have two things. You have political partisan gerrymandering, you have racist gerrymandering. Those things actually take place. The Supreme Court has said one is illegal. You see that your Governor Gavin Newsom, is fighting back in a very strong way, launching an initiative to change the lines there. And here's what's amazing to me. 2021, there was a bill in Congress, and the question was very simple. And that is, do you want to get rid of all gerrymandering? Every Democrat voted for it, a Republican voted against. And so we know we can't talk about fair districts if you aren't doing it fair. And so you're going to have this tit for tat until political leaders come to the conclusion that you have to be able to draw districts in a very fair manner. Otherwise, if it's totally partisan, you're going to see the warfare that you're seeing happen right now, obviously in Texas, and how California is responding.
Sure, and I voted for that. In fact, we still I voted for a couple of times the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. We still haven't gotten that passed by the MAGA extremist Republicans. You know, and of course, Donald Trump would never sign that into law. And so, believe you me, gerrymandering is something that takes away political power from people, especially people of color, especially African Americans. And in fact, now that Texas decided that they were going to destroy political power for people in Texas and gerrymander, then we have to fight back. And we must make sure we level the playing field. And that's what this is about. Now, if these states want to continue with their unconstitutional efforts to dismantle democracy and voting rights, then we've got to balance that off and make sure that here in California and in other blue states that we're that those states of resistance and those states which are going to protect the right to vote for everybody and for everyone to have voting have representation. You know, this is really a moment, a defining moment, where we can either just step back and say, let them do what they want to do and time will tell, or we can fight back. And let me tell you, you know me, Roland, you know, I'm ready and willing and will continue to fight back against these terrible things that are happening in this country, which impact Oakland directly.
Yep. Well, last night I had my unbought and unbossed shirt. So when you've been trained by the great Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm, you are used to actually fighting back. I want to go to my panel with questions. Matt Manning, you're first.
Mayor Lee, my question for you is, what do you think is the most effective strategy for cities to push back right now on this usurpation of power that we see the Trump administration engaging in? What are your thoughts about the best ways to push back on that outside of the courtroom, which we know is one of the mechanisms you have at your disposal?
Yeah, the best ways are to be unified. We cannot, I think first, we cannot let Donald Trump divide our communities. And we need to make sure that Black and brown and white communities stick together and push back. Secondly, we need to speak out about what is taking place and not duck and dodge and not allow the bullying to continue to drive fear into people, because we know that they're talking about withholding federal funds. Okay, what do we have to do? We have to look at how we address these gaps locally. Is that going to be through parcel taxes? Is that going to be through new ways of funding the safety net and housing and what he's disinvesting based on our struggle to push back on the terrible destruction that is being taken. So we have to make sure that people understand that this is not about necessarily a specific city, but it's about a unified national effort on his part to dismantle this dictatorship and this democracy, and to establish a dictatorship. And if we can't say that locally, then we're not doing our job.
Michael.
Mayor Barbara Lee, once again, congratulations on your win. The question I had for you is that the Trump administration in April 2025 cut $158 million in community violence intervention grants that were going to major cities like Chicago, Washington, D.C., et cetera. And we know these grants were instrumental in bringing down violent crimes in these communities. And these came from the Biden-Harris administration, actually. Can you talk about if those grants had an impact in Oakland, California? And if so, can you talk about a little bit how they brought down violent crime in Oakland, California, please?
Sure. I don't want to say, and I rest my case, but you spoke, you're saying exactly what has happened. And I was on the Appropriations Committee and also on the Budget Committee. So I was a champion and helped negotiate a lot of these funds. And so the violence prevention funding, which we received here in Oakland and throughout the country, throughout these cities that he cited, where he says he wants to, he trashed us in essence. These are the cities where crime rates are coming down. Here in Oakland, for example, violent crime has gone down by, I think it's 28% in 6 months. Robberies, assaults, auto thefts, 46%. You can look at every single category and the crime rates are going down. And so it doesn't make any sense, first of all, if he were the president of all people in this country and concerned about crime, that he would want to cut efforts that bring crime rates down. And again, these are cities primarily headed by Black mayors, so we know what this is about. And we're in Oakland, again, we're going to continue with our violence prevention efforts, our Department of Violence Prevention and ceasefire, like is happening in Baltimore and other cities. And we're going to stay on this trajectory. Is it going to be tough? Yes, but that's okay. We're accustomed to tough times. And this man, we need to see him for what he is and call this administration what it is. Finally, I'll just say I was, again, on the Appropriations and Budget Committee all these years, and I saw Project 2025 every single day. And this was part of their playbook. I know their playbook, and this is the manifestation of that agenda.
All right. Thank you for your service.
Cameron.
Thank you.
Cameron, congratulations, Mayor Lee. So good to see you. We miss you here in D.C. But as a former Congressional Black Caucus staffer, my question to you is that right now, so many of our three largest cities are all headed by Black people. We have so many African-American mayors, as well as we have the largest Congressional Black Caucus ever. There feels like there is so much power there between the Congressional Black Caucus and all the African American Mayors Association to be able to bring so many different people together representing so many parts of the country. What is being done and what is being talked about amongst your colleagues, both in other mayors, along with your former colleagues in Congress, on how to really rise to this moment?
Sure, and this is the moment where we do exert Black political power. And I've talked with, of course, the African American Mayors Association, and we're coordinating our efforts. We're looking at how we can support each other. Largest Black caucus, you're right, and believe you me, we're in the minority right now, of course. But as a mayor, I'm still organizing to make sure that we elect more Black members and more Democrats to Congress so that we can at least, while this man is in the White House, form this circle, this resistance movement on Capitol Hill like we had before. And so we have to coordinate very carefully, though. And we can't say, oh, that's just Congress or that's just the local governments. We have to exercise our political power right now. We see what they're trying to do with gerrymandering, so we have to fight back. We see what they do in terms of trying to put up barriers to registration and to make sure that we're not part of the voting process in terms of disincentives to vote. We have to push back. And so it's about us circling the wagons, both locally, statewide, and nationally, because we are at the pinnacle of Black political power now. And I think we're clear about that throughout the country. I know all members of the Black Caucus, they're out there fighting hard. Black mayors are out there fighting hard. Black legislators are out there fighting hard. So this is a moment that, the glass half full is this has brought us together in a mighty way.
Thank you.
Mayor Barbara Lee, it's always a pleasure to have you. We really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Roland, where are you right now? In Maryland or in Texas?
I know. I'm actually I'm actually in Indianapolis, actually Westville, Indiana. I was invited to the Live Golf tournament out here, and so I landed here a little bit earlier. When I landed, I did an interview with Spike Lee, and so I'm going to be here all weekend. There's some other great folks. Mark Jackson, former NBA player and head coach, was here earlier today, and got some other great folks who are going to be here. So we're going to be hanging out at the golf tournament. And anybody knows this, but right behind media, the second thing I love most is playing golf. So if I'm on a golf course, I'm either playing or watching.
Well, enjoy your break and tell Spike hello for me, and I want y'all to come to Oakland.
All right, then. So we'll work on doing a broadcast there at Oakland. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks a million. See you later.
Appreciate it. Folks, one of the Republican members of Congress, Kevin Kiley, has been really complaining about what Governor Gavin Newsom is doing. So he's introduced a bill to get rid of gerrymandering, but why wasn't he saying that 4 years ago? Well, Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager-Doe, she had a few words to say about her fellow California colleague.
What are you hearing behind the scenes from your colleagues?
So Kevin Kiley miraculously came up with this piece of legislation because he realized that his district was in question. That's about as self-interested as you can be. B, my colleagues will confirm this, we had our weekly call with our Democratic caucus, and every single one of them was grateful that California was stepping up and fighting fire with fire. They said, can you lean in anymore? Because we need a playbook for how we can fight in our states. The governor is correct. Florida is now in play. Indiana is in play. Missouri is in play. Ohio is in play. And not only are they working to gerrymander the maps to give Republicans more seats, but they are also doing it to silence Latino representatives and to get rid of African American representatives. So it is not only a classist playbook, but it is a race-based playbook because they know who the folks are who show up and who are voting to keep Planned Parenthood, to keep health care, to make sure that costs are down, to make sure that we have jobs, to make sure that we have manufacturing. So yes, Republicans are now crying foul, but they were not crying foul when they voted for the big ugly bill. They were not crying foul when they voted to defund Medicaid, when they voted to get rid of Social Security, when they have supported every single thing and have been complicit with every single unlawful, illegal, unconstitutional thing that this president has been doing. And they have been silent. So don't give me your crocodile tears when all of a sudden you want to come up with a piece of legislation that says slow your roll. How about passing the John Lewis Voting Rights Act? How about calling out Governor Abbott? How about calling out what this president is doing? If you are so excited about what you've been doing in the past 7 months, then run on that record. But please do not come for California and do not come for the voters, because the voters should have the right to vote for who they want to, not to be given, shoved down their throats, some janky maps designed to keep this president in power. So, folks are united. Folks are asking California to lean in and do more. And we're saying we are giving you all that we've got. And we are standing with our governor, and we are asking other states to step in and find a way to do it as well, because this is not just about California. This is about this entire country.
Well, it's not just about California. I'm here in Indiana, and the White House is putting pressure on this state, Republican leaders here, to redistrict seats here. Also, we see it happening in Ohio. Florida's talked about doing it as well. Then, of course, Illinois is talking about it, New York State. And so what we have, Cameron, we literally have here a battle going on when it comes to how do you legislate power. And the reality is Democrats have said, Republicans, you make a move, we're going to counter. Republicans say, you counter, we're going to counter. And so at the end of the day, this is going to be a back and forth. All of this is all about the 2026 midterm elections. And the reality, Cameron, is that because of the state of the economy, Republicans are scared that they're afraid they're going to lose the House, and they're trying to bolster their numbers to mitigate anywhere from 8 to 10 seats that they expect to lose in 2026. So by redistricting, then they'll be able to have that cushion.
Yeah, this is an all-out fight that we as people all over the country cannot ignore. I think the fact of what's happening down in Texas has set off a domino effect. I love what Gavin Newsom and the folks over in California are doing, but if you look at the map in terms of how many different state legislatures and state houses and governors are Republican versus Democrat, Democrats don't have the numbers nationwide there, so this is something where we've got to fight fire with like lava. Like I'm really hoping that with those 5 seats they're trying to pick up in Texas, they find 5 to 7 to 8, 10 seats in California, and hopefully, as it was mentioned before, bipartisan wise, they had a chance to outlaw redistricting or stop redistricting before. But now I'm really hoping that this is something that our Democratic houses and our Democratic governors see all the way through. If it does pass through Texas, that they do redistrict those 5 seats.
Absolutely. And the reality here, Matt, look, if Donald Trump did not ask Texas Governor Greg Abbott to find me 5 districts, you would not see any of this. That set off a domino effect. And yesterday, former President Barack Obama, he addressed Texas House Dems in a video conference with them regarding their walkout 2 weeks ago. Watch this.
What we all recognize is we can't let a systematic assault on democracy just happen and stand by. And so because of your actions, because of your courage, what you've seen is California responding, other states looking at what they can do to offset this mid-decade gerrymandering that is highly irregular and is not what we should be doing to balance out the maps for this upcoming election. And I think we became a little bit complacent over the years. We assumed that things would continue to get better, that our democracy would become more inclusive, that it would become more fair, that we'd make it easier for people to vote rather than harder for people to vote, that the votes would be counted rather than suppressed. And what we forgot is that history doesn't always move in a straight line, and it's not always 2 steps forward and another 2 steps forward. Sometimes it's 2 steps forward and a step back. And we're in a moment right now where not just gerrymandering, but efforts at voter suppression, efforts at questioning the results of elections, efforts at the executive branch unilaterally doing things that bypass Congress and the people's representatives, militarization of cities, politicization of our justice departments and our military. Those are trend lines that remind us that this precious democracy that we've got is not a given. It's not self-executing. It requires us to fight for it. It requires us to stand up for
it. You know, Matt, it's a little hard for me to hear President Obama say, we got complacent. See, I know black folks love this from Obama, but no, he got complacent. More than 1,000 state seats were lost during his 8 years. The DNC was not strong. Obama for America supplanted the DNC. And the redistricting effort that he's been working on with Eric Holder, that was launched after he left office. Let's be real clear. Rahm Emanuel, when he was Obama's chief of staff, would often deride progressives saying, I'm sick of them talking about the Supreme Court. Right there was a problem. Rahm Emanuel, James Carville, Paul Bagaglia were critical of Howard Dean for having a 50-state strategy. They wanted to focus on national. So when Obama says we, he got to look in the mirror. And we got to be willing to actually offer that critique, because we were all there and we saw it. And a lot of us were saying, don't ignore the states. Stop focusing on national. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and it sounds like that critique is not only the truth, but it's timely. However, it's subordinate to the task at hand, which is do not cede control, don't let them get any more seats, right? So that's a conversation that we definitely have to have, and a conversation that has to be had frankly so history doesn't repeat itself in the future. But as for right now, I think Mayor Lee's comments in response to my question earlier are perfectly suited to respond to kind of what Mr. Obama said, insofar as it's a matter of uniformity now, right? I mean, the brilliance of this is I don't know enough of the history, and I wish I could give you an example of this. But I love the idea that, Trump calls Abbott or calls him out or calls him like Raffensperger, most likely, and says, hey, give me 5 more seats. And then people in other states say we can counter that by working in our own legislature to make sure that we counterbalance, the gerrymandering that they're doing. And that requires not only uniformity, but it requires that everyone stand up at the same time and realize what he's doing over there, he will soon be trying to do here. And we absolutely cannot let that happen. And I think it's important to recognize that, we both need to look at that necessary critique that you're talking about, but we need to recognize that that's a conversation for tomorrow. The conversation for today is we cannot lose any further control. And in fact, we need to leverage the fact that the economy's bad. People are not happy with the militarization. They're not happy with the open fascism that they see this White House espousing. Therefore, we got to stand up. And the time is to do that across this country in every way we possibly can, especially on the local level and the legislative, level in the state houses. And I wanted to speak to that to one end. Here in Texas, as you mentioned, the Democrats are talking about coming back, at least as I saw yesterday. But my local state senator is one of 2 state senators, at least in this area, that did not leave. And, he issued a whole press release about, we want to make a strong legislative record and the whole deal. But he's getting excoriated by local politicos and saying, we need you to stand up and grow a spine. This is the time that you need to dip just like everybody else and show them that we will do whatever it takes to win. And that's what Democrats have not done enough. That's what they're called to do now. And we have to stand up together to do that.
Well, Michael, I'm not as good as moving on or focusing on only the now as some other people. And here's my particular point, Michael. And again, I know because I was there. I remember in 2008 where they had the Texas primary and Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama brought out massive numbers. Hillary Clinton, and it was called the Texas two-step. Hillary Clinton won the vote, but then there was a second vote within the precincts, and Obama won that. That was massive energy. Michael, I remember talking to the chair of the Texas Democratic Party at the time, and he said, finally, we are going to see money and interest and resources coming into Texas. Obama wins. None of that happened. None of it happened. He and the Democrats fly into Dallas, Houston, Austin, raise $5, $8, $10 million, and they would leave. Texas, the infrastructure was not built. You didn't have an increase in county parties. They actually saw Republicans solidify their lead. I just need people to watch. I was there. In 2012, when Obama won re-election, I was standing there waiting to go on CNN, and I was standing next to Senator, then Congressman Chris Van Hollen, now Senator, saying, don't y'all know y'all can mobilize and organize and potentially win Texas or Georgia? He says, no, we can't, too red. So what happened in Georgia? Well, Stacey Abrams and Raphael Warnock and others said, no, we can do that. And they actually launched the New Georgia Project and New Georgia Voter Project, and that's exactly what they did. I remember telling Van Hollen, you got 2 million Latinos who are eligible but unregistered. Texas has the most eligible black voters in the country. No, we're not going to do that. And I said, that's the problem. I said, so you basically are conceding. And so I do believe, so part of the reason we are where we are right now, and Matt, this is why we got, and I'm sorry, some people got to look in the mirror, the Republicans have solidified their power in Texas because when Obama was there for 8 years, they did not organize and mobilize Texas. So guess what? You don't do it for 8 years, and now you're looking between 2025, and they actually have control of the legislature. They have control of the governor's mansion, the House, and the Senate. And so people are going to have to stop saying, well, we. No, folk are going to have to own that thing and saying, what I ignored. And I fundamentally believe that the problem that Democrats have today is that too many of them ignored what was happening on the state level over the last 10 to 15 years, and they were only focused on national elections, and Republicans played the long game and said, hey, all power is not in Washington, D.C., it's also in state capitals.
Yeah, that's a good argument. And I remember when a lot of those fights were taking place. I remember when people were saying you need to build that infrastructure in Texas and you can win, build the infrastructure in Georgia, you can win, but also Florida. Okay, if I remember correctly, that same argument was made like in Florida. You don't have that infrastructure built for Democrats in Florida, and then yes, there was
Florida used to be Michael. Let's not run past that. Florida used to be a competitive state. It was a purple state, and the reality is the lack of leadership. And again, I just need people to just be honest. Okay, when Obama won, he got rid of Howard Dean. He put in Tim Kaine. He was an awful DNC leader. Then he followed that up with Debbie Wasserman Schultz. She was an awful DNC leader. And so, and we just got to put it out there. When you examine the problem today, you cannot ignore the previous 10, 20 years. You go to any doctor, and all of a sudden you have some health issues today, he's going to say, well, how have you been living for the past 20 years? It didn't just pop up magically. And what I'm saying is people have to recognize ignoring these things 10, 20 years ago is why we're in the position we are in right now.
We spent too much.
Yeah. It's dealing with the infrastructure. It's not just voting. It's not just Kamala Harris was down, I think, 7 million votes from Biden-Harris in 2020 when they got 81 million votes. It's not just that. It's the lack of infrastructure built in certain states. And speaking to the state legislature, I remember the discussion. I remember the fight and how under President Obama, and I voted for Obama twice, okay? But having these conversations, I think, is good and healthy so that we can identify mistakes that have been made in the past so we don't make them again. But I remember that in the state legislatures across the country, Democrats got killed in the state legislatures, okay? And that conversation took place at that time also. And the conversation dealing with the importance of the Supreme Court. It wasn't until really, I think, after Trump wins in 2016 that then Democrats really start realizing, oh, damn, how important the Supreme Court is, especially when Roe versus Wade was overturned. When Trump got 3 Supreme Court justice nominees confirmed, okay, then all of a sudden, then people were, oh, damn, we got to focus on the Supreme Court, okay? And Republicans played the long game. And Mitch McConnell was instrumental in this because Mitch McConnell made it his lifelong mission to get as many federal judges confirmed as possible. And just very quickly, when Republicans took back control of the Senate in 2014, they blocked 103 federal judge nominations from President Barack Obama, and they blocked Merrick Garland, the nomination to the Supreme Court, which left all that open for Donald Trump to do a slam dunk. And these are lifetime appointments. So we have to understand that 3 branches of the federal government is not just the executive branch. It's not just the president. You got the legislature, the federal legislature. You got the Supreme Court. You got, the federal. And keep in mind the state legislature also.
So here's interesting right now. So this person here posts in our chat, I'm out because people are suffering now, rehashing 2008. And we have no plan for 2025. It's foolish right now. HR, you're wrong. You are 100% wrong. And the reason you're wrong is if I am going to diagnose, so let me just use a sports analogy for folks who, you know what, since we had a golf tournament, let me explain y'all how this works. As somebody who's played golf for 38 years, if I keep missing putts and I keep missing them to the left and missing them to the right, you know what I need to do? I need to get a video camera or get a coach who can then look at my swing and then look at the mistakes that I am making and then give me correction to improve my golf swing, my golf putting, so I can actually make more putts. This notion that you can't look at what you did wrong in order to have a plan today is nonsensical. Show me a coach who has a quarterback if the quarterback is inefficient. We're here in Indianapolis, Peyton Manning, Hall of Fame quarterback. So guess what? If Peyton Manning's footwork is wrong, if Peyton Manning's release point is wrong, then he's not going to be as accurate as he needs to be. So you have to actually diagnose the problem by looking at the past to assess how we got to the present in order to fix it in the future. So let's take what's happening in Texas. What are you now dealing with? Republicans have the governor's mansion. They control the Texas House and the Texas Senate. They have a supermajority. So before you can take control of state government, you got to win one. Before you can take over the governor's mansion, the House, and the Senate, you got to win one of them. And guess what? You may not even win the Texas House. You may not win the Texas Senate. But what you have to do is you have to then win critical seats so there's no supermajority. And so now what you then do is, if you're in Texas, see, for all y'all people who keep talk about plan, I'm explaining to y'all how plans work. You then look at the map and say, okay, are there 5 or 8 seats in the Texas House that we can focus our resources to win those seats in the next election, so at least we're not where they have to talk to us. See, right now, Republicans in the Texas House can pass whatever they want. Whether Democrats come back for a quorum, they have the votes. They don't need Democrats. So you have to actually look at, okay, let me examine the map. Okay, you know what? That's too red. Okay, is this a possible pickup seat? Now, how do we organize and mobilize in that district to win that particular seat? That's called a plan of action. But you have to look at what you did before, which now means, okay, do I have the candidates running in all positions? How much money are they raising? Do I have boots on the ground? Do I have district offices and who's doing it? That's a plan of action. See, some of y'all, I see y'all comments. Some of y'all so mad that I critiqued Obama because y'all think Obama is right behind Jesus, when you have to acknowledge that he made crucial mistakes that again affected him, but he impacted Democrats down ballot. So now how do you now restore this? And so here's what I would say. President Obama, why don't you go forth and begin to say, I'm going to raise $10 million, $20 million in order to help Democrats win back the Texas House. How about that? How about you literally go down to mobilize and organize to do that? See, that's what I'm talking about here. See, and Cameron, too many of us don't want to say that. Too many of us don't want to challenge leadership on that. And I'm saying that's what you have to do. But it's you not going to do it by just doing a video conference saying, oh, you know, we got to keep trying. No, you actually, here's what happened to the whole database, Cameron, Obama for America? Where did it go? Where did those people go? There were millions of people who had signed up for where did they go? You have to mobilize and organize. I'll give Bernie Sanders credit. When he lost, he took his database and he converted that into our revolution. Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr. told me this year. He said that, Roland, the greatest mistake that my dad did after the 1988 campaign is that he did not weaponize his database. Here he had all of these volunteers, these workers, these donors, and he did not take that and then create a lasting political operation that could help candidates down the road. Cameron, that's called planning.
Yeah, as a person who's sat there and been at the forefront when what states are we investing, what districts are we investing, the thing you always heard about Texas is that, oh, it's too expensive, it's too big, there's too many markets. Some of these state houses can be won with $1 million or $2 million. There are things that were within the margins that are within the margins of a few thousand votes. That's just organizing. That's just attention. That's just a purposeful focus. I think Democrats, and if they haven't learned, and we haven't as a party learned by now, this is no longer a defensive game. This is an offensive game. You always hear that term, the blue wall, the blue wall. That needs to be a blue push, a blue spear. Like, we need to be moving forward and not just playing the defense, because to your point, like, there's several different states where there are literally hundreds or only a few thousand votes that separate a Democrat from a Republican, Democrat-Republican. But I, as a person who deals in advertising and deals in kind of on the digital organizing side, you would always hear, oh, we can't invest that. That costs us too money. That media market costs too much. That costs too much. Well, it costs some money to win, but it's both money, attention, and people and focus. And to your point, I do think we have to understand what we have done wrong and pivot to what we're going to be doing now in 25, and especially with 26 coming up.
Absolutely. And Matt, again, one of the reasons you have seen Republican gains in South Texas is because Democrats took it for granted. They did not focus on the issues, and they did not keep the mobilization and the organization up. And they allowed the Republican. And what did the Republicans do in South Texas, Matt? You're there. They came in. They invested time. They invested resources. They invested boots on the ground. They played the long game, because they said, if we can flip 2, 3, 4, 5 seats, all of a sudden we change the trajectory. That's literally how the game is played, Matt.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, but to use your analogy earlier, if you go to a golf pro and you've got a tournament coming up in a week, they're going to take a much more honed, focused approach on how to accomplish you performing in that tournament in a week differently than they are the long game fixing your golf swing. Two things can be true at once. I literally live in South Texas, and the local county where I live in, the Democratic Party is in a mutiny right now because the person who's the party chairman is just believed to not be moving quickly enough and to not have enough long-term strategy. And there's kind of a young gun coming in to take his position down the road. So you're right. People want action and people need action. All I'm saying is I think we can do both things. We can call Mr. Obama out for his failures, but we can also say we have to triage this situation right now. Both things can be true, and that's all I'm saying.
What I'm doing, Matt.
Exactly right. Matt, Republicans did. Wait, hold on. Let me finish. Actually, we can talk about what Republicans did, and I live in a county that was blue when I moved here, and it is now red or purple, and I've seen the changes that they've made. I'm just saying, right now, the predominant focus should be solving the immediate problem and not merely spending the time and talking about how the problem arose, because that is secondary to solving the problem.
But your immediate problem, first of all, your immediate problem, you really can't control. Let's just be fundamentally clear, Michael. The reality is, House Dems return for the quorum, maps get passed. Okay? Then you can have the lawyers take over. But what I'm still talking about is you still have elections in 2026. So, and we're talking now, 15 months, 14 months away. Somebody said here in the chat, somebody said in the chat here, they said Obama should raise money in California, not Texas. Well, that's stupid. There are billionaires in Texas. There's billions of dollars in there. No, you do raise money there. The problem, Michael, was raising money in Texas and moving it out of state. You need to raise money in Texas to keep it in Texas.
Right. Because Texas can be won. You've talked about how Texas has the largest number of black voters that are not registered, if I remember correctly. You saying that, Ro?
No. Texas had let me correct. Texas has the largest number of eligible black voters than any state in America.
Yeah, eligible black voters, any state in America. And I also remember a few years ago, Beto O'Rourke, if I remember correctly, Beto O'Rourke was talking about how the Democratic Party was not investing the money in Texas, and if they invested the money in Texas, they could win Texas. Okay,
yes.
So Texas,
and what he did was, and what he did, Michael, what he did was he ran against Ted Cruz. He visited all 254 counties, but again, he ran a campaign. When the election is over, it's over. Now he still has his organization, but Texas has look, it's a huge ass state. It's 254 counties. So you have to have massive infrastructure. One person can't do that. That's why you have a party apparatus. That's the whole point.
Yeah. And when we had these conversations, like I said, I voted for Obama twice. Okay. If he was running the third time, I'll vote for him a third time. But us having this conversation to look at what went wrong so we can fix it is not bashing Obama. I want people to understand this is not bashing Obama. And the message that he gave to the Texas Democrats from the Texas State House, and unfortunately some of their knees are buckling and they're going to go back. The message was an inspiring message, but we also have to understand how do we get here? What happened in 2010, 2012, 2014? We didn't just get to 2025, overnight. Okay. And so there's multiple parts when it comes to this political game. It's more than just showing up on a particular day voting.
Right.
It's that infrastructure that's built on the ground, that messages, that engages in people. And this is what Republicans did in Florida. They became part of the community. This is how they got to allow Latinos to vote Republican in Florida. I saw stories where
I'll give you
go ahead.
Go. I'll give you a perfect example.
I saw stories where they were helping citizenship papers and citizenship forms, things like this. They embed themselves in the communities.
Right. I'll give you a perfect example. I guarantee you, after my comments yesterday and last night, you've got some members of the Texas Black Caucus. Boy, they are hopping mad at me. And I'm sure it's some Texas House Dems who are upset with what I had to say. But if you are mad at what I said, what that tells me is you didn't listen to what I said. And that is, these Texas House Dems, they left, they were out 2 weeks, then they're going back. That's it? 2 weeks? The point that I made is they raised expectations. They gave the impression that they were going to hold out for the long haul. 2 weeks ain't the long haul. What did I say last night was my greatest concern. My greatest concern is that people would be frustrated that they only held out for 2 weeks, and that potentially could depress people's energy and enthusiasm when it comes to turning out. So if you're the Texas Black Caucus and you mad, get over it. And in fact, if you're mad, don't show up for the quorum on Monday. See, I'm not interested in folk feelings. Everybody know everybody know why I believe in the phrase FYF. Cameron, what do you think FYF is?
I know. It ain't about feelings, Roland.
Matt, what you think FYF? Yeah, F your feelings.
What?
And what they don't understand, is you said your big mama watched the show.
Yeah, I'm not finna say it, but I know what it stands for.
I get it.
And she probably told you at one time, F your feelings. But the thing that I'm trying to get people to understand is that you mad because I'm mad. First of all, you want me to be mad. You want me to be passionate. You want me to care. You want me to be invested in this. And so I don't care. And I'm telling you, I knew when I was doing the show last night, I said, oh, but they about to be big mad. And I said to my frat brother, Ron Reynolds, he my frat, I appreciate that, but let me be real clear. And this is for all of the members of the Texas Black Caucus. This is for all Texas House Dems. And this is for any Republican, any Dem, anywhere in the country. I done told y'all what my philosophy is. If you do good, I'm going to talk about you. If you do bad, I'm going to talk about you. At the end of the day, I'm going to talk about you. Listen, I'm on a text chain with Gene Wu. Somebody just connected me, a rep just connected me with him. He wants to talk to me to explain their process. Okay, we going to talk. I'm going to still disagree. But if you mad and upset, maybe what y'all ought to do is go look at how many views the video got. See, it's a lot of folk in Congress mad at Congressman Jasmine Crockett, but it's amazing how they all call her to come do their fundraisers in their state and their county parties. Right. See, it's amazing how, to me, it's dumb. So maybe the folk who are mad at political leaders who are fighting for the people, who are resonating with the people, maybe what they should do is stop hating on them and start asking, how are you doing it? Because we know there's a lack of guts in politics these days. And so, I'm telling you right now, and I was dead serious. If any of those members of the Texas Black Caucus, let me just say it again for the folk in the back who don't understand what I'm saying. If you are a black member of the Texas Black Caucus, I'm telling you right now, if you show up and allow that quorum to happen, don't be surprised when I pop up in your district. And matter of fact, I challenge you to come on the show. And let me just go ahead and throw the gauntlet down. Any member of the Texas Black Caucus who has a problem with what I said last night, and I knew when I was saying it, folk were going to be mad and upset. And I was just honored. Representative Jelanda Jones put that in, and I was honored at the Black Caucus. I've keynoted with him before. If you got a problem with what I said, come on the show. I dare you. I dare you to come on the show, and we can have the conversation, have the debate. Because here's one thing that I know exactly what the people are saying. And what the people are saying is, I need folk representing me who's got some fight in them and who are not willing to back down. Go to a quick break. We come back. I'm going to talk about a big win in Louisiana when it comes to redistricting. And, of course, my alpha brother, Bishop William Barber, is going to be joining us. And we're going to be talking about how to organize poor and low-income people across this country, whether they are white, black, Latino, Asian. He says that if just 2 to 5% of low-income people in this country actually vote, it will cause a tsunami across the nation. We'll break that down next on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Don't forget to support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars make it possible for us to do the work that we do. And so, if you want to support us, use Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see the QR code right here on the screen. Check some money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Send it to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. PayPal, R. Martin Unfiltered, Venmo, RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
This week on A Balanced Life, we're discussing all things young adulting. You've graduated high school, now what? I know you're ready to move out of your parents' home and do your own thing, get on college campus and have fun with your friends, but there's some tips and tools that you'll need in order to be able to enjoy the journey to young adulthood.
Just walked across that stage, you excited, you about it, you ready to live your life. You don't have to listen to your parents, you come and go as you want. But do you have the funds to live the lifestyle that you have grown accustomed to?
That's all next here on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie on Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. The United States is the most dangerous place for a woman to give birth among all industrialized nations on the planet. Think about that for a second. That's not all. Black women are 3 times more likely to die in this country during childbirth than white women.
These healthcare systems are inherently racist. There are a lot of white supremacist ideas and mythologies around black women, black women's bodies, even black people, that we experience painless, right?
Activist, organizer, and fearless freedom fighter Monifa Akinwole Bandele from Moms Rising joins us and tells us this shocking phenomenon, like so much else, is rooted in unadulterated racism. And that's just one of her fights. Monifa Bandele on the next Black Table here on the Black Star Network.
This is Essence Atkins.
Mr. Love King of R&B, Raheem Devon.
It's me, Sherry Shepard, and you know what you watch.
You're watching Roland Martin, Unfiltered.
Hey, folks, big win in Louisiana. A federal court ruled that the state maps in Louisiana violate the Voting Rights Act. That is a huge win. We've, of course, been covering this story. And, you know, the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is hanging by a thread, but is playing a huge role in many of these races. Again, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, this is a very conservative court, found the current maps illegally packed and cracked black communities, either concentrating black voters into too few districts or scattering them across many, weakening their ability to elect preferred candidates. The court rejected Louisiana's argument that race-based protections are outdated, citing decades of precedent affirming Congress's power to enforce voting rights. Now, Louisiana must draw fair maps that reflect its sizable black population, while a separate Supreme Court case over the state's congressional map is still pending. Matt, this right here, again, huge. Listen, they weakened Section 4 of the Voting Rights Act. Section 2 is still there. Louisiana, a third of Louisiana population is African American. And for the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, listen, look, you're there in Texas. Explain to people that this is not the Ninth Circuit. This ain't California. And so this ruling is significant if the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals found this violation, violates the voting rights of African Americans.
Well, let me first say, actually, I'm sitting in Baton Rouge as we speak, and I have to give a huge congratulations to my cousin, Shanice Manning, who got her master's in physics today and is en route to get her PhD in physics from LSU. So I first got to shout out and prop up.
Black folks love giving Black people love giving shout outs. Love shout outs.
Well, I got to.
Love shout outs. Go ahead with the shout out.
You know,
go ahead with the shout out. Okay.
And she's an AKA for what it's worth. So shout out to her. But in any event, you know.
Okay. Anything else? Anything else? LSU, Baton Rouge, AKA. Anything else?
She's just an amazing person, so I'm proud of her, and I want to give her flowers while I can. But in any event,
man, go ahead.
In any event, the Fifth Circuit is by far the most conservative federal court of appeals in the country. You know, I have to tell every client, yeah, you have a good case, but the Fifth Circuit is the mountain we still have to climb. And, you know, it's very tough sometimes because you see some inconsistent rulings from them. But for them to issue this ruling is really an extraordinary thing. You know, the concern is with the Supreme Court, they're making decisions every day that to me seem to be just violative of the basic principles of the rule of law. And we can't have assurances that our courts are going to get it right all the time, but they did get it right this time. And that's especially true when you are walking around, as I literally am, in a city like Baton Rouge. I mean, the blackness is on full display. It's a lot of black people here, clearly in Louisiana, as the good brother Gary Chambers comes on all the time and reminds us. And it's important for those people to have a full, you know, participation in society in terms of through voting. So I'm glad that the court upheld this. And the Fifth Circuit, I mean, frankly, if you win at the Fifth Circuit, that's an even bigger win than winning in most circuits when you have anything that has to do with voting rights, civil rights, you know, employment, anything that's seems to be a civil right adjacent claim is one where the Fifth Circuit is very often hostile. So this is a huge win. I'm glad to see that this win came down. And I'm hoping that, you know, in further litigation or in subsequent litigation like this, not only the Fifth Circuit, but all the courts of appeals, and the one at the top, the Supremes, gets it right to make sure that people's votes count and that districts cannot be, gerrymandered as they're attempting to do to cut out the full opportunity to elect the person that you want to be elected.
Folks, joining us on the phone right now is Bishop William Barber II. Glad to have him on the show. Bishop is going to be in Jackson, Mississippi for Moral Mondays. And Bishop, there's a lot we've been talking about. Obviously, what's happening in Texas, California, redistricting, voting, everything. But this is the thing that, and I was just talking about when President Obama, he addressed the Texas House Democrats. And what I said is, listen, you can try to fight to break the quorum, but if you do not organize the state, if you don't mobilize the state, you can't win. News conference is not going to do it. Just sitting down and having Zooms is not going to do it. It literally has to be, if we talk about hand-to-hand combat, this has to be person by person, house by house, street by street, block by block, precinct by precinct, neighborhood by neighborhood, city by city, state by state.
Exactly, Roland. Can you hear me well, Roland? Exactly.
Yep, I got you, Bishop. Go ahead.
And in Texas, as in Georgia, as in Florida, and as in North Carolina, as is in Mississippi, the numbers are in our favor if we go to the right places. The bottom line is, if you look at poor and low-wage voters in Texas, whether you look at black, or just black, or black and brown and white, who have voted more progressive when they voted, this number in Texas is something like 3% is all you need to overcome the past margins of the votes. So it's not that they have so much power, it's that we're not bringing all our power to the state. If every progressive leader that's running in a House district committed to increase the number of turnouts in their district 10%, even though they may not have competition, even though they may be in a black stacked or a brown stacked district. If we start thinking like that and organizing this, then Georgia and Virginia aren't the only states that can turn. North Carolina, and I said it here first, North Carolina is going to take that Senate seat, and it's going to turn, and it can turn by margins. I looked the other day in Mississippi. In Mississippi, Presley lost the governor's race by 23,000 votes. Over 500,000 black and brown, poor and low-wage voters did not vote. But the main thing is they weren't really fought for or reached for. And so this is why we have this hand-to-hand or precinct-to-precinct combat. And what's going on in Texas, I would encourage them, you and I have been talking, number one, don't just go back and make them have to arrest you. I think all of them ought to get wheelchairs and sit in it and say that the Texas legislature is trying to cripple democracy and cripple Texas. Make them arrest you in those wheelchairs. Filed under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. The people in Texas ought to be filed under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. And when they're going to get ready, wherever it's going to be staged, tell the people so all the people can meet you there. And when they meet you there, have a plan for what they're to do when they go back to the various counties. Tell them what the numbers are. Educate the people to the fact that we have the power. It's been fixed now that the Southern strategy does not have these big margins anymore. They are overcomable margins. Texas should fall. Florida should fall. Louisiana can fall. North Carolina can fall. Virginia can fall. Georgia can fall. And Florida can fall. If four of those states that I just named fall to an overpowering vote, it changes everything politically, Roland. Everything.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's going to take some work. And guess what? You may not do it in one cycle. You may not do it in two cycles, but you have to stay at it. And I think that excuses are not going to cut it. And the bottom line is it's going to take a lot of work, a lot of money. And I said it point blank. I said, listen, in Texas, I think President Barack Obama needs to go to Texas and he needs to say, I'm going to raise $10 million and we are going to win critical state houses to break the supermajority in Texas. We want to do the same thing in Florida. Republicans, it barely was broken in North Carolina. And that's what you have to do. You have to look at the data and say, what are the seats that we can pick up? What can we win? So you may not be able to win the House, but if you break the supermajority, that's a step to winning the House or the Senate.
That's right. And you've got to get a consultant that won't just use the old language, the old way, the old game. They're lazy. They don't want to go after these infrequent voters. They don't know how to talk. The other thing is Democrats cannot merely run saying we're against Trump. They have to say, okay, this is what he did in the first 100 days. Put me in the Congress, give us a majority. This is what we'll do in the first 25 days or the first 50 days. You know, Democrats had a chance in 2020. And you told them, you said, do not just pass the COVID relief bill. I remember when you said it. We said it. You said pass voting rights, restore the Voting Rights Act, and the COVID relief. Do it all at one time. Don't give Manchin what he wants before he commits to what he promised John Lewis before he died. What happened? Democrats capitulated. They some of them black, went after the voting COVID relief and said Manchin had promised them afterwards he would vote a certain way. As soon as he got what he wanted, he reneged. This is not gaming anymore. This is authoritarianism on steroids. An expert on authoritarianism, Roland, told me the other day that the thing she fears the most is that this thing is moving at the speed of a military coup d'etat. And now that Trump has brought the military in to shut down cities, it's looking more and more like a military coup d'etat. And the politics we engage this year and next year are going to be determinative of whether you slow it down and stop it. We have so much power. That's why we're going to Mall Monday again in Memphis, and we're taking caskets to the senators' offices in the South who voted to basically commit policy violence, kill their own people by taking away Medicaid and creating policy murder. But what we're also doing, Roland, is organizing the pain. We're not going to let this lead to headlines. We're going to tell folk the truth. And then if you take 16 million people's health care, that's 16 million people we ought to be mobilizing to vote. If you take 20 million people off of SNAP, that pain will enable them to be organized by folk that will say, if you elect me, I will get those things back immediately with a majority. We can organize this pain, black pain, white pain, brown pain, native pain, but it's hard work. You know, Roland, I wouldn't be going down that. We were invited in Mississippi, and they said they want to fight. You got to go where it is, but you got to do more than just a speech. You got to organize, and you have to know these numbers and stop telling our people that, well, the South, you can't do anything. Well, white people vote against their own self, and well, some of them do. But the numbers tell us that we haven't even gotten 50% of our black people to vote yet. So let's start talking about how we can get 70% of black people to vote, get 20% of all poor and low-wage people who haven't voted to vote, and let's see what that does, because that will fundamentally shift the numbers in these states.
And I said it before we went to the break. I said, listen, I knew when I expressed my passionate position yesterday, I knew so it was going to be some Texas House Dems upset by that. It was going to be some Texas Black Caucus members upset by that, but that ain't my problem. And if they are mad, my whole deal is deal with it. If they are mad, then guess what? Use everything in your power. Don't show up for the quorum. If they are mad, mobilize and organize. But the bottom line is this here. I am concerned as a 56-year-old black man who's 57 in November, who has 9 nieces, 4 nephews. I got my nephew just had a baby. My niece has a baby on the way. I am concerned that my nieces and nephews and their children are going to lose power in a state where lots of blood, sweat, and tears were put in to improve the plight of African Americans. So I ain't never going to apologize for my passion and demanding folk use every ounce of their being to change this situation.
We don't need another August 19th, like we have a Juneteenth roller, where 2 years down the road, folks say, well, they should have on August 19th gotten arrested, and they didn't, and 2 years later, people figured out that they could have done it, they should have done it. We don't need any more of that. Messaging, winning the messaging battle isn't the battle. You have to mobilize the message. And why would you not force Abbott to arrest you and then take Abbott to court, tie it up in court, sue in court, and then use that to mobilize the people? I believe if those Texas Democrats stood their ground and said, listen, we literally going to say, if you're going to get us, you got to come get us, and we're going to be in wheelchairs because you're crippling this democracy. You're crippling America. And if they announced where they would be, I think tens of thousands, 100,000, I think they could put 200,000 people.
I agree.
In Texas, and then tell them, but if they quit, people that were going to fight are going to say, see there, see, and you, this
I'll tell you, Bishop, I'll tell you, Bishop,
yeah.
Bishop, I was on the plane, I was reading Martin Depp's book on Operation Breadbasket. April of 1969, 1 year after the assassination of Dr. King, the Speaker of the House of Illinois, Ogilvy, was proposing a bill to cut $125 million in welfare funds. Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. in Operation Breadbasket, they mobilized 4,000 people outside the state capitol in Springfield. They put so much pressure on him that he withdrew the bill. There was one state lawmaker said he had never seen in his career where a Speaker of the House got so much pressure that he withdrew his own bill. That's what happens when you, again, give the people something to fight for, and they're gonna stand there. And this is all I'm trying to say. And listen, I'm gonna call Representative Gene Wu. I'm gonna talk to him about their strategy. But I need them to understand that in this moment, Bishop, and you see this all the time, when people feel downtrodden, beaten down, left out, they need somebody to give them hope. They need something to fight for. And when you raise the expectations, and then all of a sudden you lower them, then folk go, well, what the hell are we doing? Well, why did I go to the commission and testify? Why did I do all of that if all you was gonna do is sit out for 2 weeks? That's my central critique.
You never start a sit-in and quit. They started in December of 1955 and went 381 days. In North Carolina, when we started Moral Monday, we went over 20 weeks rolling. And folk were arrested, but thousands of people showed up, and they mobilized. In 2014, we had 100,000 people show up at the General Assembly. And that year, when the elections came, we threw out the governor, who was an extremist like Trump, and was one of the only states where an incumbent Tea Partier was sent home, a House member from Western North Carolina, when black and white folk up in Western North Carolina found themselves a way to come together during Moral Monday. Once you commit to an act of civil disobedience, you have to stay with it. Otherwise, you mess up the courage of the people who are with you, and you embolden the people who are against you. You know, if you could, like Jesus said, if you're going to set your face like flint, you got to go all the way. And you know what, Roland? I want to say this in love. We cannot be the generation that does more with less with more than folk before us who did more with less. Now, I know we might be facing arrest, but look, Texas, think about Texas. There were people who stood up in Texas in the 1800s and the early 1900s who faced being lynched. Not just merely getting arrested, and going home. They faced being lynched. And every seat in Texas, every black seat in the South is dipped in blood. I'm going to Mississippi Black Caucus on Monday to talk to them. And I'm going to remind folks, every seat here is dipped in blood. There's no way in the world that we can be more afraid than folk were 70, 80, 100 years ago when they faced more dangers then. Come on, y'all. And we have more ways to get people together. You got this show that reaches hundreds of thousands of people. You got all this social media. I mean, we come from people who didn't even have any of this and did more. As you said, so the time is right now. Please do not disappoint the people. And there's some things that if you keep saying something is bad, it's bad, it's bad, it's terrible, it's terrible, it's terrible, it's the worst thing ever, and then you capitulate to the extremists, and you go in when you ought to stay out. You give them their majority when you ought to not give them their quorum. My God, what that does to people is it says, you know what? This is nothing but a game. Folk, and they don't turn on your adversary, they turn on you. That's the thing about it. When you disappoint people and you call them to courage and then they don't see it, They don't turn on the people who you gave into. They turn on you. And the way they turn on you, you get 40% of the people voting. You get 50% of people voting and 50%, 60% of the people staying home. And with those kind of numbers, you're never going to overcome this extremism and authoritarianism that we see today.
To my panel, I need quick questions for Bishop Barber. Cameron, I'll start with you.
Bishop Barber, you said you're headed down to Mississippi. I think that Senate race with Senator Sidney Highsmith, probably one of the most racist senators we have. Do you feel like that's a winnable race next year?
The numbers say it is. The numbers say that it is. I was just sharing with Roland the other day that if you look at poor and low-wage voters, about 600,000 or more in the state, over 400,000, nearly 500,000 didn't vote. In the gubernatorial race, the margin of victory was only 23,000 votes. The margin of victory in the last Senate race is smaller, way smaller than the number of poor and low-wage voters. If Dems put money in there, if they put people on the ground in there, you remember the former Secretary of Agriculture, he almost won down there out of Mississippi. But he asked for resources and got none. He asked for help and got none. And he forced that race. I mean, he won in places they didn't think. Mississippi is one of the key people. They got 56 black members of the caucus down there. There's only 120-some members of the whole state legislature. They have over 56 in Mississippi, of all places. If every black Democrat runs in their district like they have competition, increases the turnout by 10 to 12%, if they mobilize with poor and low-wage white folk and black folk, 68% of white Republicans said they now want Medicaid expansion after COVID. And many of them down there, you don't have to get 50%. If you can get 25% for poor and low-wage voters, particularly white voters that may have either not voted or voted in another way to vote their agenda, vote their pain. This is winnable, but it's not winnable if you keep saying it's not and you don't invest any money in it and you just write it off. The Dems have written the South off too long, and we've got to stop it. They have to stop it and start truly investing in organizing the South.
Thank you.
Michael.
Reverend William Barber, when you talk to poor and low wealth people who haven't voted in a number of years, what are some of the key hot button issues that resonate with them that get them to realize, okay, I need to vote because this impacts my life?
Well, first thing, we should know this. Poor and low-wage people make $50,000 and less in a family for the first time in modern history, voted for a Republican candidate over 50%. They voted 51% for Trump. Prior to that, they were voting for Democrats in the majority, and it started going down after from Obama on forward. Now, here's why it went down. They said 19 million poor and low-wage voters that voted for Biden and Kamala when he was running didn't vote. Not that they voted for someone else. They just didn't vote, okay? Cecilia Lake just did a study on it. The top reason that they didn't vote is they said they didn't hear a clear economic agenda when it came to low wage, raising the minimum wage to a living wage, and Medicaid expansion. That was a top issue, two issues. That if they had heard that clearly, they said the problem is all they heard coming from the Democrats was middle class. Right. Middle class. So Democrats lost 19 million voters. And the number one reason they did not vote in this past election was because they did not hear a clear economic agenda for poor and low-wage working people. And the second reason, the number one reason they say they don't vote, according to the study we did, is they said nobody talks to them. They don't campaign in the communities. They don't come to the communities. They don't say the word poor. They don't say the word low wages. That's what's happening. If you are running for political office, people need to hear at least their name and their situation and their condition. But if you just run, and we were told finally Pete Buttigieg said it. Said he would probably get in trouble for saying it. I got it on camera. I'm gonna get it to rolling so y'all can play it. He said, "Grandma Barbara, I'm probably gonna get in trouble for this, but I'm gonna say it tonight. The consultants tell us not to use the word poor and low wages. They tell us that.
Oh yeah, you gotta get that to me.
Say that. That's crazy as hell. Excuse my French, but that's crazy. When you got 140 million poor and low wage people in this country, 87 million poor and low wage voters, only 57 million of them voting, 30 million staying home, and more people voters stayed home than voted in this past election, and you're not even gonna say the word poor and low wage.
Right.
That is a recipe for losing every time.
Yes.
Matt.
Thank you.
A very quick follow-up question for you, Dr. Barber.
Matt,
in that respect.
Go ahead.
Yes, can you hear
me?
Go
ahead.
Okay. Dr. Barber, how do you
we got you. Go ahead.
The culture of the people. How do you change the culture of the people in places like where I am, Texas, poor and low-wage people who are going to repudiate, anything that's not the Republican label, even though they would be voting for their interest if they were voting for Medicaid and some of the other programs? I mean, that's what I see as a big issue here, is that people don't want to be aligned with a certain party, and therefore they may not vote, even though it's against their interest. How do you change that culture through the messaging?
Yeah, okay. Well, remember what I just said in the stats. Now, I know what we tend to say as a matter of saying it, but I look at stats. And let me tell you this, Roland, my wife taught me something the other day that I'm going to say to y'all that's got to become a political reality. I used to be really, really, really big. Steroids and stuff blew me up. And I lost a lot of weight, but I kept going to the store in the same size. For some reason, I couldn't get my mind past 60. I had been way up, about 70. I couldn't get my mind. The other day, we went in the store, and I went over there. She said, "Don't you go over there another time." She said, "You are not that big anymore." I said, "Yes, you bring your pretty skinny ass over here." Excuse me, but she said, "You come over here and try on this 52. I can't wear no 52, baby. She said, "Okay, they got me fitting in there. Go in there. It's going to tell you the size of your elbow, your arm, your neck, your eyes, everything." And they do. And it said 52.7. Now, my point I'm trying to make to my brother is I hear that all the time. But the data says that last year was the first time that poor and low-wage people voted over 50% for a Republican. So that means that 50% of them ain't voting against their own interests. It means and that means large amounts of them just aren't voting. Why? Because they're not being talked to. So you can't live in a non-statistical reality. The reality is that the majority of poor and low-wage people making under $50,000 a year, when Biden and Harris run, did not vote against their self-interest. That only 40% of them. But the majority didn't. But the larger issue is so many of them stayed home, and they said, not we said, whether it's black or white, whether it's Appalachia or the Delta, whether it's the Panhandle or it's the city, nobody comes and talks to us about the issues that are really, really real. How much time? Do I have one more minute, Roland? I just want to tell a story real quick. 1 minute.
Yeah, Bishop, go ahead. Go ahead.
We went to East Kentucky, my brother. They told me if you go to East Kentucky, they're going to shoot you. I said, no. They said East Kentucky is Republican. I said, no, it isn't. It's Ann Braden country. She was a white woman that fought for civil rights in Kentucky. I said, it's coal mining company where black and white people fought against the Union. And they came up with the song, which side are you on? Which side are you on? That Black Lives Matter. People didn't even know that history. I said, it is the country of the great dissenter, who was the only person to dissent in Plessy versus Ferguson. We went there and met with some folk, and we showed them how the state legislature under Republican leadership was voting against their water rights, their pensions, turning the coal companies over to foreign nations, not passing blocking Medicaid, how many people that hurt up there in Appalachia and in those mountains, so forth and so on. And we showed them how they lie to them, and when they come to them, all they do is talk about gay people and abortion, but they don't tell them the rest of the story. We showed them the rest of the story, put charts up on the walls, showed them how their legislators voted. And one guy got up, he was a McCoy, the Hatfields and the McCoy. He said, "Reverend Barbara, show that again." I showed it to him. He said, well, I will, but damn if we ain't being bamboozled. I said, you are. Now what you gonna do about it? They got together with black folk from Louisville and began organizing. 4 of those 6 counties voted for Andy Beshear, who's now the new Democratic governor in Kentucky, who sent an incumbent Republican home. And we never endorsed him. What we did was we went there and showed people this is how you are being. Now, some I'm guaranteed they didn't go. A couple of folk cussed us out while we were up there, but so what? I got cussed out before. I'm trying to get 25%. We win if 25% of poor, low-wage people haven't voted. We might not get 75, but I can get 25% in any state, in any of the battleground states where poor people are 6% of the electorate, poor and low-wage folk. If I can win 25% of those who have not voted, it's a new day. And that's how I think, my friend, we have to start changing the culture.
Thank you.
All right, Bishop William Barber, always a pleasure. Folks, pull the graphic up. Monday, Bishop Barber will be in Jackson, Mississippi for Moral Mondays. We'll be live streaming it right here on the Black Star Network. Bishop, thanks a lot.
Bless you, man. Y'all forgive me for a little cussing, but it's good for the soul.
It's all right, then. Cussing lowers your blood pressure. All right, Bishop, thanks a lot. I'm going to go to a quick break. We'll be right back, folks, on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr, we welcome the Black Star Network's very own Roland Martin, who joins us to talk about his new book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. The book explains so much about what we're going through in this country right now, and how, as white people head toward becoming a racial minority, it's going to get, well, let's just say, even more interesting.
We are going to see more violence. We're going to see more vitriol, because as each day passes, it is a nail in that coffin.
The one and only Roland Martin on the next Black Table, right here on the Black Star Network.
Carl Payne pretended to be Roland Martin. Holla!
You ain't got to wear black and gold every damn place, okay? Ooh, I'm an alpha, yay! All right, you're 58 years old. It's over.
And you are now watching
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable.
Folks, before I close the show out, let me shout out, keep your prayers for Guy Torrey. You just saw him in that drop. Guy had emergency surgery last night. He was supposed to be performing, I think, in Florida. They discovered a massive blood clot in his lung. And so I saw his video on Instagram. So keep your prayers for my man, Guy Torrey, as he recovers from emergency surgery. All right, folks, I am here in Westfield, Indiana, just outside of Indianapolis. The Live Golf Tour is having their tour stop here. My man, AJ Calloway, invited me to come out for the stop. Now, you know, he's an Omega, but I tolerate Omegas. But he wishes he could be an Alpha, but grade point average was way too low, way too low. So we're here. Actually, I'm going to get behind the camera. I'm going to show y'all. And so, obviously, the tournament is done for the day. The players were out here. But it's not just the players out here, folks. You've got a lot of stuff out here in terms of different, all sort of for the folks who don't even play golf. You see, man, it is a gorgeous, gorgeous sunset. It's a beautiful, beautiful day here in Indianapolis or in Westfield. And so round 2 of the Live Golf tournament is tomorrow. I'm going to be out here all day. And, of course, the final round is on Sunday. And so look forward to be out here. Check out my social media for a lot of different posts and things along those lines. And we'll be looking forward to have lots of fun. Y'all know I love golf. And so I've walked PGA Tour stops. I've gone to places in Houston and Dallas and you name it, all the different places. And the reality is, I love sports. Now, if I can't be playing, if I'm watching, it's fine. But the only problem is, like a gorgeous day like this day, I probably want to play tomorrow versus watching, but we'll be watching. But again, so I wanted to come on here and check this out. I've seen it on television. Of course, I follow on social media as well. A number of players who were on the PGA Tour now on the Live Tour. Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson, a number of these players, Lee Westwood, and I don't have his first name, but this young kid, Munoz, right? Dude shot a 59. For all y'all in golf who don't understand, a 59 is like almost meeting Jesus Christ. I'm serious, like y'all. 59 is crazy in golf, and he was on fire. So shout out to him. That's the holy grail in golf, shooting a 59. And so, really looking forward to it. A new league, a lot different from the PGA Tour. And so looking forward to seeing some of the folks earlier. Mark Jackson, former NBA head coach, former player with the Houston Rockets. I know y'all remember from the Knicks, but I don't care. But also Indiana Pacers. He was here, and some other folks I had the opportunity to meet, so looking forward to it. And so just check out social media. I'll be posting some stuff, and going to have a lot of fun out here walking the course, and getting some steps in and enjoying all the festivities. And so I appreciate being here and having the invite. Let me thank our panel for being today. Let me thank, of course, Matt. Let me thank Michael. Matt, you got any more shout-outs? Because, you've been shouting everybody out. You got anything else?
No, but I love that you end your show with shout-outs and you talking about me. So why don't you go ahead and terminate, bro? Appreciate that.
No. First of all, I'm not ending the show with a shout-out. I'm literally describing where I am. I mean, I'm sure the people at home like, okay, why is he doing the show from a golf course? So that's not a shout out. That's me explaining where I am. There's a difference.
Ain't you just shout out? Did you just shout out the cat that shot a 59, which by the way is insane? I mean, that is crazy. A 59.
No, I didn't shout out the guy. I didn't shout out the guy shot a 59. I'm reporting what he did. That's not a shout out. That's a report. Dude, you're a lawyer. You don't understand the difference. I'm sorry, you did go to that little school in Austin, Texas University. Y'all call it University of Texas. I understand why you have no understanding.
Wow.
Oh, you didn't?
If you wanted that,
I don't know.
He's still a Howard brother. He's still a Howard brother. Watch it, Roland.
Hey.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
Matt, it's some little school you went to. So I don't care. I mean, University of Texas, whatever, Howard. It's some little bitty school.
Right. Hey, Roland, I got a quick shout out.
So it don't even matter.
Roland, I got a quick shout out.
All right. Come on, hurry up, get your shout out.
It's for the Sigmas and Zetas that won the D9 Metro Detroit.
Oh, hell no, man. Don't nobody care about no Phi Beta Sigma. Don't nobody care about no Phi Beta Sigma.
They won, so shout out to the Sigmas and Zetas that won that step show, okay, here in Michigan. All right, Blue Fire.
Really?
Roland, I got...
You literally doing a shout out for a local... you doing a shout out for a local step show? Boy, bye. Okay, Cameron, what you got? Come on, hurry up.
Roland,
Detroit.
Roland, in all serious note, I'm leaving here to go to Alabama. My grandmother was 102, about to turn 103. She was the oldest living AKA Morgan State alum. She loves you, loves your show. She just, she lived a long life. But I just wanted to make sure I shout out Mary Bell Pryor Trimble. Like I said, she was the oldest living AKA, oldest Morgan State alum. She almost 102 and a half. But I just wanted to dedicate the show to her. We're headed to her memorial service tomorrow. But and she would always call me and text me when I was on your show.
So your grandmother passed away 102 and a half years old, was a huge watcher of this show. Please give my regards to the family. I appreciate her watching. See, more than likely, she probably didn't mind me cussing. Because, you live to 102 years old, that probably means you cussed a lot of people out because you kept your stress levels down. And if Michael and Matt keep trying to give more shout-outs, I'm going to start cussing them out. All right. Again, safe travels to Alabama. Cameron, I appreciate it. Again, give my regards to the whole family. Matt, tell everybody what's up in Baton Rouge. And Michael, whatever. I'm going to give a damn about no Sigmas. All right, y'all. That's it for me. Again, I appreciate everything. I'm going to be here with Live Golf this weekend, so check out my social media. Folks, don't forget to support the work that we do. join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars make it possible to do the work we do all across the country. And so you want to support us. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans who contribute at least $50 a year. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. You support my show, the other 4 of the shows in the network. We got a couple of new shows that we're launching as well. And so it all matters. If you want to contribute to us via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right in front of you right here. If you want the link, go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com for the actual link. You can also use that QR code for credit cards as well. Checks and money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Y'all playing the commercial way too early. Thank you very much. Be sure to get my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, available on bookstores nationwide. Get the audio version on Audible. You want to get our Roland Martin Unfiltered Black Star Network gear, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. You see it right here on the screen. You see our shirts right there. Get those shirts, mugs, all kind of stuff on the website. Of course, support the businesses that we also support on shopblackstarnetwork.com. Check it out in our marketplace segment. And don't forget, download the app Fanbase if you want to invest in their Series A fundraising. They've raised almost $13 million. Go to startengine.com/fanbase, startengine.com/fanbase. We always end our show every Friday running the names of all the people who have donated to our show. We celebrate 7 years on September 4th. More than 36,000 people. We reference them and praise them every single Friday. Folks, that's it. I'll see y'all Monday. Where am I going to be? I'm actually in D.C. on Monday. Shocking. I'm not going to be somewhere else. Folks, I'll see y'all then right here. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla!